Hello and good morning. Today is January 3rd, 2026, and you're listening to That's Old News, the daily download, making old headlines hot again. I'm your host, Ainsley Harvey, and as always, we're looking at what went down on this day in history, which means we are rewinding it all the way back to France in 1431, where on this day, a 19-year-old Joan of Arc is handed over to authorities. For those of you who don't know, Joan of Arc was a French peasant girl who claimed to be guided by divine visions on how to restore the French prince to the throne, which was currently held by the English. She led the prince's armies and had him crowned as king, but was captured by enemy forces and handed over to the authorities on this very day in 1431. In the meantime, 65 years later, we find Leonardo da Vinci testing one of his flying machines. That's right. On January 3rd, 1496, Da Vinci, a lover of mechanics and anatomy, had his apprentice test an early version of a helicopter. The test failed, but he did design some glider concepts which laid the groundwork for future aviation. Fast forwarding to this day in 1521, and German monk Martin Luther is excommunicated from the Catholic Church. After criticizing church practices, Martin Luther is not to be confused, by the way, guys, with Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights activist, was told to recant his thoughts or face excommunication. He refused, so today became the first day of his outing, the event which almost single-handedly started the Protestant Reformation. It's also a pretty important day in the calendar for nerds, which I say lovingly as one, guys, because on this day in 1892, J.R.R. Tolkien is born in South Africa. Inspired by his love for philosophy, friendship, and religion, alongside his experiences in World War I, Tolkien went on to publish The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, both of which have inspired millions and made billions in the years that passed. Speaking of stories with evil overlords, today in 1925, Benito Mussolini proclaimed himself Il Duce, aka the leader of Italy. After dissolving the Italian parliament, Mussolini turned Italy into a totalitarian state, ruling as dictator until his death in World War II. Jumping forward to 32 years after the death of Mussolini, we find two young nerds named Steve incorporating Apple computers. On this day, in 1977, Wozniak and Jobs received initial funding of $250,000 to establish Apple's initial operations 3 years later. When the company's IPO launched, Apple's market capitalization was approximately $1.8 billion. Not too shabby. And our last jump through time today is to this day in 2004, where American pop star Britney Spears weds childhood friend and future stalker Jason Allen Alexander at a little white wedding chapel in Las Vegas. The pair were both 22 years old and had the marriage annulled after just 55 hours. And that's old news from this day in history. I'm Ainsley Harvey, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.